Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are focusing our attention on a deceptively cheerful corner of the internet, the digital mood board.
Right.
Whether you use Pinterest, Canva, Milanote, these are platforms we all rely on for creative inspiration for project planning.
And tools we just assume are purely about aesthetics, completely walled off from, major cyber threats.
Yeah.
But based on the document stack we've been reviewing, this really significant research piece called Cybercrime Agendas and Darker Objectives, or CADO, these platforms harbor some major, often unnoticed risks.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to cut through all that visual beauty and really understand how the simple act of collecting inspiration can become a vector for IP theft, malware, and, well, now AI content laundering.
What's so fascinating here is how the core design of these platforms, the very feature that makes them so successful, which is this rapid, frictionless content sharing.
The easy pinning.
Exactly. That's precisely what creates an environment where both IP theft and cybersecurity risks can just thrive. The system is built for quick collection, not for vetting the source or the legitimacy or, the copyright.
So the democratization of inspiration, it kind of leads to a breakdown of accountability.
A systemic breakdown.
That is the core tension here. I mean, these boards have moved from being private sketchbooks to these vast, publicly shareable catalogs.
Yeah.
And that easy save from web function is fantastic for collaboration, but it creates two simultaneous and critical risks.
It does. And they blend IP confusion with hard cybersecurity threats.
So where do we start?
Let's start with the IP risk. When a user saves an image from some third-party site to their board, they are basically engaging in a form of republishing, maybe accidental republishing.
Right.
And if that original image was already stolen or misattributed, well, the mood board doesn't just display it.
Yeah.
It acts as a viral vector. It gives the stolen content a new, seemingly legitimate home.
And the user who did the saving, they often become an inadvertent plagiarist.
Completely.
They have plausible deniability because psychologically, they just think they're saving a reference for a private board, not publishing it to the world.
And that vulnerability, that sort of ethical confusion, it moves very quickly into a direct cybersecurity threat through link manipulation.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The links associated with these pins can actually be edited after the initial legitimate pin was created and has already gained user trust.
Wait, hang on. I assumed once I pinned something, say designed from a Behance portfolio, that link was fixed. Are you saying a malicious actor can go back and just swap the destination without changing the image?
That is precisely the flaw. It's often a result of platforms prioritizing ease of editing. They want you to be able to fix broken links, but that feature is exploited.
How?
A bad actor will post an attractive image linking to a perfectly legitimate but totally unrelated site. Then they just wait. Once that pin gets hundreds or thousands of saves and gets really visible, they swap the link out.
So they're leveraging the platform's authority and all that user trust as a disguise.
Mm-hmm.
What are the destinations? Where do these swapped links go?
This is a critical scam vector. The redirect usually leads to one of three things. First, fake e-commerce stores selling cheap knockoffs.
Using the original stolen art.
Of course. Second, direct phishing pages, asking you to log in. And third, pages infected with malware specifically for drive-by downloads.
Drive-by downloads. So you don't even have to click on a malicious file. Just landing on the page could infect you.
Correct. The web page itself executes a script designed to exploit vulnerabilities in your browser or OS, and it silently starts a download.
It's the ultimate Trojan horse inspiration.
It is. They exploit the creative user who is moving fast, clicking links without double-checking the URL because they trust the visual path.
And that structural vulnerability, where trust is built with an image but betrayed by a link swap, that pushes us right into the huge issue of creator rights and, of course, generative AI.
Absolutely. The documents note that this vast repository of aggregated, often uncredited imagery, it promotes what you could call look and feel plagiarism.
Yeah.
And when designers rely too heavily on these boards, they risk generating, in the document's own sharp phrasing, homogeneous, sterile, AI-generated mush.
I love that phrase because it captures the lack of strategic thinking. You're not thinking about the client's needs. You're just thinking about the aesthetics you scraped 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. And the AI systems that feed this are trained on vast amounts of scraped content. They generate derivative images that mimic original styles, but crucially, they abstract the user completely from the source material.
This is where we need to clearly define AI content laundering. So walk us through that life cycle.
Okay, it's a three-step process. First, generative AI models are just indiscriminately trained on billions of scraped images, many without the creator's consent.
That's step one.
Step two, the AI then creates new images, stylistically derived from those uncredited works, mimicking a popular artist or a specific style. Third, and this is key, these new uncredited AI-generated images are then pinned to public mood boards where they rapidly gain visibility.
And by being pinned, they appear legitimate. They're directly competing with the original human artist whose work was scraped, eroding their economic rights.
It creates a system designed to make original human labor art feel, abundant and disposable. It fosters a serious psychological detachment from the labor of the creator.
Which leads right into the psychological and societal toll. So much more than just economic loss, isn't it?
Far more. Content theft induces real psychological stress, anxiety. You have authors like David Baldacci describing it not just as theft of money, but as theft of their imagination. That loss of agency is devastating.
To have your unique style, your creative fingerprint just decoupled from its origin and monetized by scammers, it must be crushing.
And the societal cost is what the document calls the creeping plague of sameness. This over-reliance on script and AI content devalues human expertise. When typing a minimalist logo for a coffee shop, Bauhaus style, is mistaken for actual design thinking, the entire creative profession gets undermined.
Let's shift focus now to the user data risks, because this is where the casual user, not just a professional designer, still faces really high stakes.
For sure. Mood board platforms collect extensive, granular data on your taste and your intent.
So if you're searching for wedding dress ideas or kitchen renovation colors, that aggregate of your intent is a highly valuable commercial asset.
That data collection moves way beyond simple cookies. I mean, the aggregation of all these diverse personal inspirations over time creates an incredibly detailed and marketable profile of your life, your commercial intent.
Your emotional state, even.
Exactly. This is what the Kideto document refers to as doxing by aggregation.
That term is stark. Explain that a bit more.
Well, you aren't being doxed by someone revealing your address, but by the platform revealing your purchasing plan, your personal events, your professional trajectory, all based on the visuals you save.
I see. And we know this data is vulnerable. That 2024 Pinterest data breach, which leaked 6 million records, it shows how scraped data can fuel these kinds of targeted, highly personalized attacks.
It absolutely is a vicious cycle. Stolen data and stolen content enable the next phase of the scam. So if you are the user, how do you spot the traps? What are the red flags to look for?
Okay, give us the clear indicators. What should we be looking for?
You need to develop vigilance around this stuff. First, look at the links. If you click and get redirected through multiple shorteners or a confusing series of affiliate networks, massive red flag.
That's just obfuscation.
Pure obfuscation. Second, check the image attribution. Is there missing metadata? Has the image been rehosted on the platform server instead of linking back to the original source? That severs its provenance.
And I imagine image quality is a strong indicator of theft as well.
It is. Look for low-res, heavily watermarked, or obviously cropped images. And with AI content, look for the AI. Look overly generic visuals, that sort of hyper-polished, glowing fantasy art style.
Inconsistent shadows, weird fingers.
All the classic tells. Text that looks like nonsense glyphs. Those are your key indicators.
Let's anchor this with some of the legal realities and real-world incidents. The law is clearly struggling to keep up.
That's right. A key legal anchor here is the 2022 case, Davis v. Pinterest. A photographer sued over 51 infringed photos. The court ultimately ruled in Pinterest's favor, thanks to the DMCA safe harbors.
Okay, can you quickly define what that safe harbor actually means for the platform?
Sure. It means that if the platform like Pinterest is just a host and responds quickly to take down notices from a creator, they're sheltered from liability for what their users do. They're seen as a neutral carrier, not a publisher.
So the platform uses old legislation to protect itself, shifting the legal burden of vetting content directly onto the individual who just innocently saved a pretty picture.
Exactly.
That's a huge liability gap for the user, that inadvertent plagiarist we mentioned.
It is. The case clearly highlighted user liability for uploads, even if unintentional. The platform is sheltered, but the user is exposed. And we see this exploited constantly in things like the Redbubble Etsy pin scam.
Tell us more about that scam.
So in this scenario, high-quality pins of original art are posted. But when you click to buy, you're redirected to a fraudulent, low-quality copycat print-on-demand site.
So it bypasses the artist's legitimate storefront on Etsy or Redbubble entirely,
Completely. It steals sales and confuses the consumer.
which raises the big question. How are laws keeping up?
They're struggling, still operating on that reactive notice and takedown model, but there is change. Newer regimes like the EU's Digital Services Act, the DSA, they're starting to increase accountability and transparency requirements for large platforms.
And what about the massive gray area around AI copyright?
Still a legal minefield. The U.S. Copyright Office has been pretty clear that purely AI-generated images lack human authorship, so they aren't copyrightable. Their commercial use is legally dubious.
So if I'm the listener, the creator, the consumer, what can I do right now to mitigate these risks?
For basic cyber hygiene, always enable two-factor authentication, avoid clicking suspicious links that redirect a bunch of times, and critically, use a reverse image search before you pin something to verify its original source.
And for the professional creators trying to fight against scrapers.
You have to publish the canonical versions of your work with clear, machine-readable licensing metadata embedded things like EXIF or schema.org data. You can also use server controls like robots.txt to limit automated crawlers.
These sound like individual fixes, though. The problem is systemic. How do the platforms fix this for all of us?
The required shift is foundational. Platforms have to prioritize and surface provenance,
Meaning what, exactly?
meaning they have to preserve and display the original URL, the creator handle, and the metadata clearly on every single pin. They also need to implement detection engines to block known scraper bots and maybe default new mood boards to private.
We need trust built into the image file itself. You mentioned the W3C Content Authenticity Initiative. What does that actually do?
That's the future. CAI-style schemas involve cryptographically signing and tracing origin metadata to the image file itself.
So it's like a digital tamper-proof notary stamp.
That's a great way to put it. When an image is created, the creator's info, the date, it's all embedded securely. If the image is scraped or altered, that cryptographic signature breaks, making it impossible to claim it as a pristine original.
So what does this all mean? Digital inspiration is clearly a double-edged sword. We have to move from that slow, reactive notice and takedown model to a proactive system built on link verification and this provenance technology.
Precisely. We've seen how easy it is to treat AI as a fast intern, a tool that aggregates quickly. And look, the democratization of creative tools is powerful. But when typing a minimalist logo for a coffee shop Bauhaus style is mistaken for strategic design, it devalues human creativity. The challenge for you, the learner, is to never mistake that frictionless aggregation of content for legitimate creation or for vetted safety.
Never mistake frictionless aggregation for legitimate creation. That's the perfect synthesis. So as you curate your next board, consider the fast intern fallacy we mentioned. If the AI is doing the heavy lifting, are you actually being creative, or you're just prompting the next iteration of sameness? That's something to mull over. Until next time.